Okay, you don't have a piece of paper or anything.
I do. What do you need?
Just write down.
You want me to write it down? Yeah.
I can't see.
Yep. I can do that.
You don't have a piece of paper. I do. Write down.
Want me to write that?
Yeah.
Yep. I can do that.
You don't have a piece of paper. I do. Are we good?
I don't see Mr. Higgins yet. Or Mr.
I'm letting them in now.
Correct.
There we go. And we are recording.
Anthony and Nancy. All right,
Number one.
and we are on. Okay. All right, council. I'm going to call to order this regular meeting of Borough Council, first regular meeting of 2022. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This meeting is being held in compliance with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. It has been advertised in retrospect on the bulletin board downstairs and through all borough social media channels. This meeting is also being live streamed on YouTube and is being held in a remote capacity due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. I don't see any public right now, so I will skip those instructions. We do have one.
She's just signing in now.
Okay. Let's see.
Earlier in life. She's but there's some things it's just.
So for any of the public that are on the meeting, I ask that you please keep your microphone on mute while we are conducting business. If you wish to speak during the public portion of the meeting, I ask that you please go into, I believe there's a chat function or raise your hand. We'll acknowledge you and then state your name and address for the record. After that occurs, we would then ask you to place your microphone back on mute. And I want to remind the public that the chat function is not to ask questions, but would be merely to enter your information. Members of Borough Council recall that when we're conducting meetings in a remote capacity, that it is very easy to speak over each other and very difficult for members of the public to hear who is speaking. So again, please keep your microphones on mute until you're recognized or called upon. And when we get into the part of the meeting where we're adopting resolutions, I do ask that if you are going to make a motion or second a motion, and or if you have discussion on a motion, I ask that you please state your name before taking any of those actions. Okay. Without then any further ado, let's move into the roll call, please.
Mr. Fitzgerald,
Present.
Mr. McLoone,
Here.
Ms. Morales,
Here.
Mr. Perno,
Present.
Mr. Sparaza,
Here.
Mr. Woods.
Here.
You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. And are we able to pick this up on the recording here, Denise? When,
Picking up
okay, from the
from
computer.
the microphone in there.
Perfect. Okay. We have a roll call. Let's move into the first item on the agenda, the public portion of the meeting. Again, anybody from the public who wishes to speak, please either raise your hand or place your name and address in the chat, and you'll be recognized in that event. You can unmute your microphone at that time. I'll wait a few seconds here, give people time in the event that they do want to speak. So good, Rebecca?
We're good.
Okay, and we will close the public portion of the meeting. We will move into the engineer's report. Good evening, Mr. Lees.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, the big item on the engineer's report is the Glenwood Avenue pump station bid. Still currently on schedule to open the bids next week. I've also provided a summary of project timelines and schedule, projecting after we open bids and get under contract for the bidding and the construction. So we should have a good idea after next week. Get it under contract as soon as we can, and then we'll proceed into construction.
Okay, and as far as communication to the residents of Glenwood, I have not seen anything go out yet. I know we wanted something to go out before the end of the year. Do we have something to provide that timeline? Or should I want to reach out to them and let them know why there was a delay, that we didn't get it moving, and that we'd like to get it moving, but we're waiting on the bids to come in.
I have provided something to Rebecca and Denise, so it's something readily available to send out to the residents.
Okay. And then we're going to have to make sure that as the project moves forward, that communication is regular and that it is clear to the residents about timelines, when their lives may be disrupted, and what we might need from them. So please, when we get to the point where we award this, let's make sure the contractor is aware that communication is critical here.
Understood.
Okay. Any other updates from your engineer's report before I open it up to Borough Council for any questions?
Still working on closing out the municipal aid project. I'll have a proposal for this current year's municipal aid for the next meeting. Are working on a couple of miscellaneous projects, some lighting repairs to the building. Wellwood should be back on track. We had an issue with contractor and COVID, but that should be we should be through that, so we should be able to proceed with Wellwood. And I believe I'll discuss with Denise any updates on the flooring selection so that we can keep that moving with the community center.
Okay, great. And I do know a couple things. One, the project status table that we have, Tom, in the event that you haven't looked at it, please get with Denise and take a look at the project status table for any of the projects you're working on. Provide updated and revised information so it's timely and members of Borough Council are aware of what the status of those projects are. And then, as we'll talk about later tonight, we did receive for some of the flooring at the community center, we did receive grant funds from under the recreation grant that we submitted last May. So looking forward to be able to utilize and get that project done quickly in 2022. So members of council, questions on the engineer's report? I'm not seeing any specific questions. So Tom, thank you very much. I appreciate it, and keep us in the loop on Glenwood, please.
Thank you, will do.
Okay, next item on the agenda is correspondence. We'll talk about that later. We did receive correspondence that I just opened from Steve and Sandra Salvarian, thanking the borough for honoring them as the Grand Marshals in the 2021 holiday parade. And just, it is a very nice letter. I'll leave a copy here for Borough Council. But they said they will hang their new Merchville flag with pride, and that they hope that Merchville continues to thrive in the hands of those that love and respect it with deepest gratitude. So was a nice letter to receive. Needs to scan that so that members of Borough Council can see that. And Sean, thank you for your work on public events and making that a great success. And clearly the Grand Marshals were very happy. So that's all with regard to correspondence that we won't touch on later. Any questions on that? Seeing none, we move into council reports. Who am I starting with tonight? I will start with Mr. Woods. Good evening, Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Your Honor. Not a lot to update on. I want to mention that the Joint Land Use Board will be meeting tomorrow, considering 2 applications. And I'm waiting to hear back from the Shade Tree on the next scheduled meeting. And also the Green Team will be meeting later on in the month. But that's all I have at this time.
Perfect. And I know we have a community development report which touches a little bit on what's in front of J-Love tomorrow. So thank you. Any questions for Mr. Woods?
Yes, Your Honor. Ray, just a quick question. What are the 2 applications being heard?
1 second. It's the fence variance at 601 West Maple and a change of use variance for a mega restaurant at 2527 South Center.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. We'll move on. Mr. Perna, I'm going to go with you next because you're on my screen here. You are next.
Good luck. Thanks. I don't have the budget resolution. It was not sent to me yet. So if I can just get that, just need that number chatted to me if you could, just so I have it at some point so I can look it over.
Yeah, I will. I'll text that over to you. Or
Awesome.
it's 893-865-01.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So that's the resolution we'll be presenting a little bit later for authorization for everybody here. Thank you very much, Mayor. The other one that I want to kind of just let everyone know is there's a resolution on your agenda for a tax refund. It was an overpayment by a title company. It's in the amount of $2167.38. We will be reimbursing the title company for that overpayment. So it was just an error. It's not like we're refunding any additional dollars. In addition to that, I wanted to let everyone know on the abandoned properties front, we were down to 1 abandoned property in town, and we have 20 vacants. Is where we sit right now. I don't know if Tim is there with you, Mayor.
No, I'm virtual.
Okay, so I think we're looking for a follow-up from you, Tim, on the ordinance regarding the collections that we need to get a revision for the ordinance to go forward. So I didn't know how you were making out with that.
I don't know whether you were aware of this or not, Anthony, but Councilman Sparazza was kind enough to send me a copy of the bill that apparently was being voted on today, both in the Assembly and the Senate, that made modifications to that particular situation. So I had sent Dan an email last night. We're going to work on a revision that's consistent with that bill, making the assumption that that bill will be passed and signed into law, and have something hopefully ready for the February meeting, latest March.
Yeah, I did not see that. He may have sent it to me. I may have missed it. So Dan, if you could send it to me, that'd be great. Or Tim, if you could send it to me, that'd be awesome. Love to read up on it. Thank you.
Mr. Higgins,
My
that
report.
bill did pass today, both houses.
I'm sorry, what happened?
Pass both houses.
It did pass both houses.
Okay, good.
Dan, can you send that to me?
We'll get you
Yeah,
a
I'm not
copy.
sure what email you're referring to, actually. I don't have an email of Mr. Higgins, so if you want to resend that.
It was a text message that was sent
Okay,
over.
okay, got it.
I'll send that over to you, Anthony.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Perna? All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Sparazza, you're next.
Thank you, Your Honor. Let me just pull up the report that I just exited out of accidentally. Bear with me 1 second here. This is for January and December 2021. Fire report, Merchantville Fire Department. They responded to 21 calls, 60 in the borough, 2 at Pensacola, and remainder surrounding communities. That's total 199 calls for the year. They have drills planned coming up 3 different dates. Overall, there's really nothing to report. Fire is doing just fine. And that's my report for tonight.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Speraza? Hearing none. Thank you very much. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll start with the Board of Ed. They held their reorg meeting January 5th. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make that meeting. I was informed, however, that they did elect a new board president. Mr. Dan Licata was elected as the new Board of Ed president. So congrats to Mr. Licata. Their next meeting will be taking place on the 27th of January, 7 p.m. at the school. No notification yet that they'll be moving to remote, so that still looks like it will be in person. The Merchantville Business and Professionals Association will be having their first meeting of the year actually tomorrow. I'll be attending that. Just a few things relayed to us from them. There's been some issues with trash pickup at the dumpster. We're looking into that now, what way to either work on code enforcement or what the steps we need to take from that perspective. We'll also be looking ahead to events for the new year. I've already spoken with Jackie Ricky about the next ones coming up, including the Blue Monkey Fest and the egg hunt being the next ones on the agenda. So those will most likely be discussed as well. Dovetailing into public events, I'll be meeting hopefully soon with Rebecca Calloway and the rest of the public events group to look at what we got ahead of for the year and how we'll try to plan around the continued issues with COVID, what we can do, what we can't do, and how we'll move forward with that. Similar with OEM, hopefully we'll be meeting up soon to figure out, make sure all pertinent paperwork's been relayed to the state to make sure that we're getting in any type of grants or funding related to COVID relief. That should be coming our way. I know our OEM director had passed along some information that we might have some grant money available to us. We'll be hunting that down. DPW, my thanks to the entire, I know they've been working with some staffing issues, but regardless of that, they were still able to get the streets primed before the last snowstorm, and then after the snow hit, the street that they were out plowing streets at before the sun even came up. I was cleaning off my car and watched them plow out the 2 streets in front of my house and in back twice. So my hat's off to them and the work that they put in to make sure that the streets stayed clear throughout the first snowstorm of the year. Also, the Pensacola Sewage Authority has been making their rounds, cleaning out the sewer lines and doing some camera work where necessary. I'll be meeting hopefully soon with Chief Patty to go over some of the issues that we experienced through 2021. They were minimal, generally just tended to deal with timing issues, and we'll discuss how we can adjust for those in the new year, as well as any of the upgrades, any of the buildings or equipment going into 2022. And communications website will be hopefully meeting soon to plot out some growth and expansion on both of those. And that's all I have for tonight.
Questions for Mr. Fitzgerald? Okay. Sean, I will say kudos to DPW for their work in clearing the roadways. They were in excellent condition as I went to work that day through multiple other neighboring municipalities, and comparatively ours were in much better shape. We did that with a limited labor pool, so well done. Okay, next, Ms. Morales, your first council report.
Thank you. I'm going to start off with the municipal court report. The money turned over for the borough for the month of December was $3,665. The cases that were added equaled 96, and 93 cases were disposed. This monetary difference is $1,051.48 compared to last year, and the cases added were 4 more than last year. the cases that were disposed were 11 less than last year. I attended the Merchantville Diversity Committee's meeting on Thursday. They had reorganization. Miss Caroline Waters was selected as the chairperson of the group. Nicholas Singer will be the co-chair, and Ruby De La Rosa will act as the secretary. We discussed the Martin Luther King Day of service that will be at Wellwood Park from 10 to noon on Monday. Where the group is also going to host a hot cocoa fundraiser in order to raise funds for future activities that the diversity committee would like to hold. One of them being a Juneteenth celebration, which we will love to work with our community events group in order to hopefully make that happen.
Very good. And I would encourage that Caroline or Ms. Waters and yourself get together with Rebecca, if you haven't already, and trying to publicize the Martin Luther King Day service so that we can get it out there through our social media channels again.
Yeah, I reached out to Rebecca last week, and she reached out back to me today to say that yes, they will definitely be able to get that out on the social media and the other avenues.
Perfect. Okay. Any questions for Ms. Morales? All right. Seeing none. Mr. McClune, good evening.
Good evening, Your Honor. First, we'll start with the Historic Preservation Committee. They had their reorganization meeting on Thursday. Marie McClune was reappointed the chairwoman, Sean Waldron as vice chair, and Craig Nussbaum as secretary. There was some discussion around the role of the solicitor. Since the borough did not receive any bids for the role in 2022. For now, the course is to see how things go without having that solicitor position for the commission. The commission did hear 2 applicants in the January meeting, and I would say the meeting ran very well. Continuing on to the Merchantville Police Department. For the month of December, the department responded to 1,085 incidents, 85 traffic summons, 6 parking tickets, 12 arrests, and 1 DWI. For the year, in total, there was 14,384 calls for service. As I remind folks, on a monthly basis, a good percentage of those are proactive, positive engagements with the Merchantville community. If we look back in 2021, I think there was a lot of positive initiatives started by the Merchantville Police Department. There was the Coffee with a Cop event that was co-hosted with the station. The Merchantville Police Department was highly engaged with our kids in the parks and playgrounds community. The police department did have an opportunity early in the fall to kind of resume their involvement in the elementary school. And then last but not least, establishing that internal community policing unit that would really allow for the police department to really expand upon the progress in 2021. On a monthly basis, talked about the regular training that Chief Gracia oversees for the Merchantville Department. The Merchantville Police Department in all had about 81 attendees across 18 subjects throughout the year. And many of these trainings, I think, consistent with new guidelines from the New Jersey Attorney General and training in such things as de-escalation. Again, as we close the books for 2021 from a personnel perspective, we had Patrolman Joseph Clark and Anthony Jones join in the beginning of the year. Sergeant Rulli retired midway through the year in July and continues to courageously fight his battle against cancer. Many officers were impacted in the fall by the COVID pandemic. The department did have 6 positive cases in December, and we do have 1 officer who is still currently out fighting the virus. Lastly, on the personnel front, at this moment, the department is conducting background checks on applicants for the full-time opening when Sergeant Miller retires in February. Lastly, just for council's awareness, two topics that the chief asked that was raised. First was the redevelopment of the police department. Architectural plans were completed by Settembrino a while back. Those plans have been approved by the New Jersey Department of Corrections. And then also the evidence room, which is located in the basement of Borough Hall. Back in April 2019, Pannoni did do an air quality check and found that there was unsafe levels of asbestos and mold. So again, I think it's been, we've been a little challenged with some of the things on the pandemic to address these areas. But I would say as we go through the budget process this year, if we could keep this on the radar and see what we can do for these two critical initiatives for the police department.
Okay.
That is all I have for my report. Any questions or comments?
Any questions, council, for Councilman McClune? All right. I don't see any. Thank you very much, Mr. McClune.
My pleasure.
Both of those items, from a capital perspective, certainly on our list of capital priorities. But unfortunately are not at the top at the moment, but I agree. Continue to look to try and find ways to accomplish all of our goals. So,
Understood. Thank you.
Yep. All right. We'll move on then from council reports. Move into the clerk's report. Mrs. Sprouse.
No, I don't really have anything to report except that I'm a grandmother. And that's all I have to report.
That was supposed to happen in an announcement.
Oh, sorry. Well, oh well. No.
Congratulations to
Thank you.
Mrs. Sprouse on becoming a grandmother.
I don't have anything else to report here.
Too busy being a grandmother.
Too
let's
busy.
say. That's fine. One-time exception.
Okay.
All right. New year, new opportunity. Mrs. Moles, are you on the call?
Yes, sir, I'm right here.
Look, I carved out
only-
the report for you.
Yes, thank you for adding me to the agenda. Currently working on all the information necessary to get the 22 budget up and running. The department heads will receive their information and all of council members will receive a copy as well. The schedule will be similar as last year, where we're planning on introducing by April and adopting by May. So I'll provide more information as it becomes available.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Community development report. Rebecca submitted a report. I don't know if it got into the Google folder, but you all have seen what Rebecca's been doing. I don't know, Rebecca, if she's on the back of the computer over here, so I don't know if she wants to report from outer space here.
Most of it, a lot of it was covered. Talking about HPC, we had 2 new signs approved last week for the new Hunter Gallery that has opened on North Center Street, and also for Sage Photography, which will be opening shortly, 22 North Center. For the Joint Land Use Board, we approved a resolution for 16 North Center to convert the second floor offices in that space to apartments. And as said before, we have 2 cases coming up tomorrow for a fence variance and a change of use in 25 to 27. As far as the business district, we have several new businesses coming in, as I said, Hunter Gallery, Sage Photography, also Brotherly Love, which is a gift and candle shop will be opening soon. We will be saying goodbye to the Rite Aid in town in a few weeks. They will be closing. As far as we know, the building has been sold, but we are not aware of any new tenants as of yet. And that is what I have.
Okay. And 2 things. 100 Gallery grand opening.
The grand
January
opening
15th.
is Saturday, January 15th at 10 a.m. I believe it's from 10 to 2. So stop by if you have a chance, say hello, welcome them to town. It is a resident, Dr. Sharon Hundred Nicholas, who has opened the shop. It's an art gallery and gift wrapping space with some retail as well. It's a very nice addition to our downtown.
Great. And then on the issue of the loss of Rite Aid, we also understand that, CVS at a corporate level is closing a number of stores. Rebecca is trying to track down whoever we can to get some contact with them to the extent that we can to encourage them to remain. I mean, look, I would imagine that CVS is aware that Rite Aid is closing this location, and that will go into their calculus when determining what to do with this CVS location. So also trying to hunt down and figure out who exactly does own Rite Aid now, and determine, whatever we can from them about the what their plans are for the space, because there are a number of different options that could occur there now.
Yep.
So as we get more information, we'll make sure to keep everybody in the loop.
Absolutely.
Questions for Rebecca? I don't see any, so we will move into old business. Glenwood Pump Station project. We got a report from Tom earlier tonight about what's going on there. Just a little, the bid status. The bids are due the middle of next week. Tom, you're still here, so I'm going to ask you. I had heard that there were a number of packets that had been picked up so far. There's some real interest here. Are we anticipating good pricing because of the amount of interest?
Yeah, there's more than a handful, and we keep getting requests that we're running out of bid documents. So there is a fair amount of possible bidders that have the bid documents.
Okay. And on the legal side, have we been able to put together any of the documents necessary so that we have access and rights to the area?
I do have that.
Oh, okay.
I do have that, Tim. I have that, and I'll get that over to you. I'll email that to you.
Not a problem.
Okay. And then communication to residents. I know Rebecca and Denise will put it together and get that out as soon as possible tomorrow.
We have a letter drafted.
Letter drafted going out tomorrow. Okay. Council questions on Glenwood Pump Station? Okay. We'll move on to the next old business, tree trimming and removal in the borough. Ray, I know that you've taken over Shade Tree Commission. There hasn't been a meeting yet. I know that Councilman Perno was working previously with Shade Tree representatives to try and put a comprehensive plan together for a long-term vision of what we're going to do here. So I leave this on here. I know that we had a lot of trimming that was done within our budgetary constraints last year. If you can please, continue to work with Mr. Perno and the Shade Tree Commission to see if we might be able to at least begin to put some elements of a comprehensive sort of plan, how we can handle this from a long-term perspective. It's going to require some funding, some financing. But let's see what we can do within the next couple of months to come back with a plan that we can really implement, or at least, like I said, phase one of the plan, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'll make sure that's a point of discussion at the next Shade Tree meeting, and I will touch base with Councilman Perno after that meeting.
Perfect. Okay. Next is the planning study for the southern lanes of West Chestnut Avenue. So we had previously discussed the opportunity to, long-term what we're going to do with the southern lanes of West Chestnut Avenue. Myself and Councilman Perno have a meeting later this week with our newly appointed planner, and we're going to discuss the issue with them and ask them for a proposal for costs to put together sort of a planning document, a design concept for what we can do there to achieve not just some permanent potential closure of that roadway, if that's what we decide to do, but also to make sure that both vehicular access and pedestrian access specifically from the senior center there to the multi-use path is convenient and makes planning sense. So that, along with a number of other things, if we were to, there are a whole host of ideas. So we should be able to report back and hopefully have a proposal in hand from the planning entity within, certainly by the next regular meeting of council, possibly by the caucus meeting. So we'll update at that time. Anthony, anything to add on that?
Nope, you said it very well.
Sorry. Next, unless anyone has any questions on that, we'll move into the next item, which is the project status table. The project status table is updated. It's in the Google Drive. We will continue to add items to it, remove items as they're completed. Again, this is a working list, council, of projects, and whether they be capital projects or internal software projects or any sort of project initiative that the borough is working on. And this is an important document that we're going to have to live by as we continue to make improvements, prioritize, shift things around from timelines. And it's a document that will allow us to remain accountable to ourselves and the public on getting projects done in the borough. It also, I think, highlights just how much work we are doing at any one point here within the borough. I know sometimes it might not seem like there's a lot going on, but there is a lot on that list. So please work with your department heads, update it as needed. And if there are items that you want to discuss at any of the borough council meetings, you feel like you're really getting stale or need more attention, please feel free to bring that up. And we can identify it as a new business or old business item on the agenda. Questions on the project status here? All right. Next, New Jersey DOT TAP grant update. No major updates on this initiative at this time. We remain on schedule, and as I understand it, CME is waiting for approval from the State Historic Preservation Office on the elements of the TAP grant pedestrian walkway element that are applicable to them. You'll recall that given the historic nature of it being an old rail yard, there are elements of that State Historic Preservation Office wanted included in the design. So we're waiting for their sign off. Then I imagine within the first quarter, maybe early second quarter of this year, we will have another public stakeholder meeting with the final design and move forward towards bid documents. So that is on schedule for, again, 2023 construction, I believe, either late spring, early summer, somewhere in that range. Any questions on TAP grant? Okay. Update on the downtown redevelopment area. Since we last met, we have had additional interest with a developer who was interested in putting together sort of a hybrid plan with what was previously, publicly presented here at Borough Council. I had a meeting today with our redevelopment council, the redeveloper and their legal counsel. And the expectation is that they have a real interest. They have financing available, and they are beginning some conceptual design to be able to present to Borough Council. The timeline that they're hoping to achieve here would be to, if everything works out, get documents, everything in place, and have construction done, go through approvals, construction done prior to construction on the TAP grant. So that's a quick window. There's a lot to be done in the interim, but they seem interested in doing so. I would imagine probably in February, maybe early March, they'll be before this entity if things continue down the path that they are, presenting the Borough Council with their concepts and working towards getting some of those formative documents together, naming them a redeveloper, all of the things that we haven't gotten to yet on any of the other iterations of this redevelopment. So fingers crossed, they seem to be motivated. They seem to have some commitments from entities that may be interested in occupying the bank building, which would be consistent with our plans. So stay tuned. I think we're moving along with some real opportunity here. Questions, council? I'll answer what I can, but clearly nothing is really set in stone at the moment. Okay. G, implementation of municipal management software. This is a major capital expenditure from 2021 of the borough on a management software that is intended to make us better, allow businesses, residents, and visitors to do business with the borough in a more effective and efficient manner, and allow us to hold and maintain accountability by our staff with regard to the nature in which we engage with the public. So, Mrs. Browse, since you are running point on this, would you mind providing an update?
Thank you, Your Honor. That training will take place on February 18th. It's a full day training for all of staff, and it'll run from 9 a.m. to 3:30. And the idea is that code enforcement, construction, permitting, all issues having to do with the borough, all will be able to be addressed online, addressed by making appointments through this system, and response from this system as well, confirming appointments. And that's just the start of it. We're going to train on all the other options that are available, but they seem very numerous. So all the departments are very excited about this project, and we look forward to the training and what it will offer to the borough.
Thank you. And I would say, members of council, if you're interested in trying to see what it looks like from a public-facing perspective, Cherry Hill Township, this is the system that they use, members of the public. If you take a look at how you can schedule things, you can go through a permitting process. It's actually a very effective tool. I do think that ultimately it will allow us, and has certain tools that will allow us to shift from see-click-fix to this comprehensive solution, which will allow the same sort of reporting function and assistance that we look for from the residents. Now, the day that there will be training, the 18th, it's likely that Borough Hall will be closed to the public that day. I would imagine the municipal court would still be here to do what they need to do. They will not be falling under the system, but most other personnel will be in training that day. So if we are going to shut down Borough Hall, we'll make sure that the appropriate communication goes out to the public, or will otherwise be certainly at a reduced capacity that day. But this is something, I assume if the Borough Council member wanted to sit into this training, they could sit there that day and see the training. So
I can send them an invitation for it if they're interested.
can you do it remotely?
Yes, it's all Zoom.
Well, council, if you're so interested, I'll have Mrs. Browse send out the training invitation via Zoom so you can see.
All right, come on, shut it down.
So you can see what we will be using to interface with the public moving forward. So questions from council? All right. Moving on into our new business. First, we are in receipt of a $40,000 grant award from the state of New Jersey for the 2021-22 local rec improvement grant awards. We applied for this in May of 21. And the scope that we had submitted at the time had to do with recreation improvements to the community center, particularly the basketball court resurfacing, which was a part of a prior project that we were trying to complete under this grant, and also the flooring in the porch area of the community center. So this is great that we received 40,000. We had requested 48, we received 40, so we'll make do with what we have here. But again, thanks to our governmental partners, State of New Jersey, thank you to all of the staff who were helpful in and our consultants who were helpful in putting together everything necessary. So look forward to moving forward with that project in 2022. Questions from council on that? Okay. Next, 2021 Volunteer of the Year Award event. So two things. One, I would like to, I know we didn't have a chance to do it last year. I think we did it virtually. Might have done it virtually. We're going to put a date on the books for our 2021 Volunteer of the Year Award. I expect that would probably be in later February. And we're going to take a look at the community center calendar, see what's available. I want to look at it as an opportunity, Sean in particular, to not just be an opportunity to celebrate volunteers from the prior year, but also to encourage new volunteers who are interested to come out to the event. And so I'll be circulating a date and time once we have an opportunity to speak with the community center about their availability. To that end, members of council, if you have recommendations on who the 2021 Volunteer of the Year should be, please send those suggestions to Mrs. Browse by the, I would say, the 28th of January, which is still 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks away. That'll give us sufficient time to put things into motion with regard to celebrating that individual or individuals. And anybody, Sean or anyone else that would like to be involved in that event, please let Mrs. Browse know. We'd love your input. Questions, council members? All right. We have two resolutions this evening that are currently set to be read by consent agenda. Do I have any objection to reading those by consent agenda? Hearing none, we'll move forward with resolutions. Resolution 22-19, Regional Employee Benefits Fund Indemnity and Trust Agreement, and Resolution 22-20, Refund of Tax Payment. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Andrew.
Second, Ray Woods.
There you go. First, Mr. Bloom, second, Mr. Woods. Roll call, please.
Mr. Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Mr. McLoone,
Yes.
Ms. Morales,
Yes.
Mr. Curno,
Yes.
Mr. Sparaza, Mr. Woods.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, financial reports. Mr. Burnham.
At this time, I would like to move the budget resolution as previously indicated earlier in the meeting.
Second, Dan Sparaza.
Mr. Sparaza with the second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Mr. McLoone,
Yes.
Ms. Morales,
Yes.
Mr. Curno,
Yes.
Mr. Sparaza,
Yes.
Mr. Woods.
Yes.
Okay. Next on the agenda is announcements. We already had the announcement. Congratulations again to Mrs. Browse. It's wonderful news on the birth of grandson, right? Grandson.
Yes.
All right. Any other announcements, Borough Council, or I'll entertain a motion to move into private session on matters of litigation.
I'll make a motion to move into private session.
Second, Andrew.
Mr. Wood, first, second, Mr. McClung. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. Okay, thank you very much, members of the public. We will not be taking any action coming out of private session. As soon as we finish the private session, we are going to adjourn the meeting. So thank you all for attending. And I ask that you sign off. Yeah.